friend shows up and the most knowledgeable person I know in jewelry with a servant heart, that makes his expertise even more powerful. So please welcome Bill Coleman. Sorry, I said go for it. You real white. Chip isn't even here. He would love that.
Thank you for that introduction, and really appreciate the invitation to be here today. I don't take it lightly. When a couple people had asked if I would speak in a few months' notice, I thought maybe I would speak on the subject of jewelry design, what we do every day, maybe our custom process, or maybe something more relevant to the last couple of years in my business, the introduction of lab-grown diamonds, and its effect on the diamond trade and really in business every day. But I gave it some more thought, and I really came to the conclusion, and it's been a gradual understanding, that what I really do is less about jewelry. It's something that, although it would have been easy to talk about the technical details, it boils down to really a much more basic thing, and it's trust. It's just trust. So one thing that I recognize, that the longer that I've been in this business, and as Amber had introduced, this is my 30th year doing this with 28 years in the South Bend area, that trust isn't a byproduct of success. It's actually the reverse of that. Trust is the prerequisite for success. And it's a fine line, that differentiation. But that trust is built on really a lifetime, decades of being involved in clients' lives and in their important moments. And when it comes to business, and I hope this resonates with all of us here today, I know you believe this. Without trust, you can't have a brand. Your organization means less. Without that trust, you won't have clients. Without trust, you won't have growth. In fact, I dare say that without trust, you don't have anything worthwhile. And so in that, it's non-negotiable. Jewelry just happens to be the medium that I've chosen to work with for most of my adult life. One of the things that I don't take lightly with those 28 years here locally and 30 overall in the business is that I'm privileged to have been a part, maybe even a significant part, in some of the more poignant moments of individuals' lives. Some third-generation clients, and even a couple of fourth-generation clients for me. And that really resonates. Taking care of great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, and their children through some of these most critical and important points of gift receiving, and maybe even more important, as there's more happiness in it, gift giving. So even though we've been part of people's lives as much as I have, it's something that I don't take lightly. I recognize that although people might come to me initially for the thing, the jewelry, the diamond, the colored gemstones, or maybe even the process, but they really come to me because of trust. They come to my team and give them an opportunity because maybe it's personal experience that they've developed over time, or maybe it's direct referrals because a friend recommended or a past client made an introduction. That's where most of our businesses come from, and it continues to be the biggest why in for our entire business, is referral, which is another way of saying, my friend trusts you, so I'm going to give you that same opportunity. So some examples of that and in our business that are really meaningful and I would dare say even emotional, and we'll get more into that point. But as two examples, routinely, and I don't mean this in a casual sense, but it happens a lot, which is a widow comes in that's recently lost her husband, right? And she might bring in his wedding band that he wore his entire married life through. And I'll see that woman who wants to restore this or do something with it, right? And you can see on her face that this is hard. They don't come into the store lightly to talk about these things. It's a process that they have to go through just to even let it out of their sight. And I'll see the hesitation when that woman will set that ring on the counter and pause as she's beginning to tell the story of why she's there. I've had, in a similar vein, daughters that have come in after losing their mothers, where they've inherited precious jewelry that has been passed on. And I'll see the dichotomy, the struggle that these daughters have, in that they have mom's things. They saw mom wear it for years, maybe decades, And yet, they know their mom wants them to be happy or would want them to be happy. And so they're here to turn it into something that tells their story a little bit better. It was mom, but I wanted to turn it into something that now tells my story while giving credit and honor to where it came from. So in those things, we really find that what we're doing is really honoring stories. And those people entrust us with those stories so that we can truly understand them. And when someone hands me something meaningful, I recognize that there's a great responsibility to that, even in something as mundane as jewelry. But the meaning behind it is everything. Again, it's more than the thing, it's the why. So in those moments, it really becomes clear in my business, and I hope there's some things here that will resonate in your organizations and your business, that the thing is usually secondary to that. And what's really important to my clients when they come in is the memory, perhaps the identity of that person that held that piece. And maybe they're already thinking of legacy, what this piece is going to become for their children. And so we embrace that. Now, this flies sometimes in the face of progress, because this is a slow process. This is stories, this is emotion. And so we all, as business owners or leaders in this community, want to bring efficiency to our organizations, business, adopting technology and tools that make us sharper. But tools are just that. They're tools. In my organization, we embrace tools. We refine systems and processes within our studio. We improve efficiency on our sales floor. We adopt new tools, whether it be artificial intelligence assisted email writing or text communications or 3D renderings for jewelry design so clients can better visualize what we intend to do with their piece. We love technology and we embrace it. So it's obvious in our world today, and I'm sure in your business, that technology can accelerate tasks. But at the core of this talk, technology can never replace trust. It can't replace discernment. It can't replace the care that individuals place on with us and how we show that to the client. Certainly, technology can't replace some of the emotional qualities that we bring to the table. It can't sense the hesitation of that widow that's setting her husband's wedding band on the counter for us to work on. It can't read the sentimental pauses as a daughter is sharing the story of her mom. And it certainly can't connect with someone in their grief. Those capacities are inherently human. And I think one of our strengths, and probably your strength too, is embracing that humanity and letting that guide you. In a world that's increasingly shaped by automation, I believe the leaders that will endure, the leaders that will be successful worldwide, but more importantly in our community, are the ones that remain and lean into that humanity, where they don't forget where they came from and truly what's important. Now, one of the most common things that I hear at Impress when a client comes in, and many times these are friends, they're people that I've known for years, that will come in and maybe they just have a framework of an idea. Maybe they don't have any idea at all. And they'll say, Bill, we know you. I just want you to come up with something that's pretty, that's nice. Sometimes it's strangers that I haven't met yet that will challenge me with the same thing because they don't come from a jewelry background. They don't understand jewelry design. They don't have confidence that they could make something that's pretty. And they'll say, just come up with something. You know, that's the one instance that I routinely tell clients, no, I don't do that. And in 30 years of doing this has taught me that if I think I know, if I think I can do that, I'm almost guaranteed failure. That even if I make something pretty, which I will, my team is excellent at that, it'll be gorgeous. But if that design doesn't come from the individual, if they're not part of that creative journey, their satisfaction with the piece will be short-lived. They're just likely to fall out of love with it early, and then their hard-earned money, the process is a waste at that point. So at Impress, we slow the process down. We don't design in a vacuum. We take time to understand the meaning behind something so that we can properly tell that story. So in my store, my staff is good at taking notes. We ask questions. We look for that underlying story. And in that, the design really gradually comes into focus. Clients don't even understand that they're engaging in that, but they're providing critical emotional details that with our expertise in jewelry that we can connect in a thing. And it's not because it's forced. It's really a gradual thing that is dependent on the person. Some people process abstract concepts and designs, they can visualize easier. And that's one type of customer that's easy to work with. Other people have to be coached through the process. And again, we embrace that and recognizing that's how good jewelry design comes from. So I realized something though over the years, that my success in this town as a jeweler, my team's success, it actually doesn't have to do that we're successful because we know jewelry. It's because we're willing to engage in the emotion behind it. So there's a secret sauce there as far as I'm concerned. The product means something. There's a lot of details to that. But it's really the emotion behind it and our willingness to get into the weeds with the client and understand their why. And it's through that experience that we're able to bridge the why with the how. So we have technical capabilities. Our goldsmiths, I have more goldsmiths in my studio per capita than I have salespeople. Probably the largest goldsmith team in this region. And every one of those craftspeople are able to do this once they understand the design. It's people like Catherine and Kelly that work out front that are able to glean those stories from the individuals, and then the technical know-how of how to bridge that. And that's what we do really well. But it takes presence. It even takes restraint that we don't run ahead too fast to the client. We have to let this process develop. You asked Amber, it's like a good recipe that you have to let simmer long enough for those flavors to come out. And in that, listening isn't a passive thing. And it's one of the critical things that I hope you take away from this talk today, is that listening isn't passive, it's strategic. And in that, it can really benefit you, your organizations, your businesses, even your family. And we all can do better than that, myself included. None of this is saying that I've made it or that I'm there. I learn every freaking day. So it's very important. And in this, I will say I didn't learn this because I was just good at it from the beginning. My life has been full of mistakes, as I'm sure many of us have. You know, in those process of making mistakes, sometimes it's because I thought I knew it all early in the process, only for details to come to light that I didn't. Sometimes I was lucky. Sometimes I was able to stop what I was doing and correct course, and then some good result would come. Other times, the problems came to fruition of my own doing. And in that, there was pain. But I had someone, he's a Notre Dame graduate, he's someone that's been important in my life, successful businessman, banker, owned a salmon fishing fleet. He told me, this is about when I was starting in the US, 11 years ago, from leaving an established organization and deciding to go out my own. He said that, Bill, true growth comes from being willing to live in the pain. So what did Paul mean by that? He meant, for someone that makes mistakes, we're all gonna make them, right? Whatever we're doing, family, business, if we don't take the time to feel that pain, how we got there, and then how to avoid living or repeating that again, we have to make that pain memorable, just enough that we remember. And that always stuck with me as an important detail. So being willing to live long enough in that discomfort causes self-reflection. And in that self-reflection, if we're doing it right, takes some degree of humility. And I have found that in my personal life and business life, that we have to give that enough time to learn from it. And in that, I'm not necessarily the most trustful person. I'm in the business of trust, but it has to be earned. And I respect that because that's how I carry myself too. It's a very sensitive thing. And so because of that, I question things by nature, ask my wife. You come to me with an idea that it doesn't validate what you already think, you have to prove yourself. So in my team, I challenge my team the same way. If you believe something, show me why it's the better way. So I don't do that because I'm a difficult person, but it's because I trust the process. I trust myself enough that I have to be convinced, but in that I have to listen, right? So trust is everything. How I trust you, how I trust my team, and how you and the community trust them to handle your precious memories. Without trust, I would say for Impress, we wouldn't have a brand. Without brand, without that presence, we wouldn't have clients, and we certainly wouldn't have growth. So having to prove you're trustworthy every day, like we do as we're talking to clients that come in. Not everybody comes in and just plops something on the counter and says, have at it, you're good. Sometimes we have to have the conversation why your piece is safe with us, that we hear you, we understand you, we understand the meaning behind it. So give us the opportunity to help you. That's a back and forth process. Some people are suspicious by nature and we have to overcome that. That's not a negative thing. That's not the bar being lowered. It actually is an opportunity for us to raise the bar and to be able to communicate that we are trustworthy and why. Now, recently, this culminated in a very powerful way. And I thought long and hard about this section, and I don't have too much more to go. But I even thought about whether I would talk about this, because it represented some degree of success from opportunity. And I'm learning from that, even today. I'm still processing this. So in the jewelry industry, as I'm sure in most industries, we have trade shows. We have opportunities where we go and we meet other professionals in the business. In the jewelry world, there are trade shows around the world, from Bangkok to Hong Kong. The largest jewelry show in the world is in Las Vegas every summer. One of the largest gem and jewelry shows is in Arizona, split between Phoenix and Tucson. And my wife and I just got back from that a few weeks ago. And these trips are usually about finding extra inventory, new inventory, maybe new designers to bring into the store to be able to hopefully tempt the people coming in that they need to have something in order to be happy, or to be able to make someone happy in their life, maybe is a better way to put it. But I had a meeting with my team before I went. I did not want this business trip, which is expensive, to go into these places. I didn't want this to just be a sourcing trip to find things for our store. We said, how can we make this better? How can we make this more? And so we decided that we wanted this to be very intentional. You see, over the years, my team and myself, we've had thousands and thousands of conversations, right? So we've documented through the wishes that people might mention. Or, you know, it would be nice someday if I had something like this, or to complement that piece. Because we listen, and because people are important, these conversations are important, we make notes. So we have a whole database of information of things that we might want to do sometime. So in that, we even search with the using of technology, our database, looking for gaps in people's collections that they might have. Maybe they were missing a sapphire pendant because they already had a ring and they had the earrings. So just putting some thought into what might make a client happy. So we can't do too much because it's just Andrea and I going to the shows, and there's only so much you can do in 5 days of work. So we reached out to our core group of clients, and the 80-20 rule, I'm sure most people here are familiar with that. 20% of our business, or 80% of our business, comes from a solid 20% of our clients. And the rest are growing into them. And so they're all opportunities. But we reached out to this core group of customers and said, listen, Bill and Andrea are going to Tucson, we're going to Phoenix. We'd be happy to source something for you. We know that you've mentioned this in the past. We know that your wife has mentioned this opportunity. We know you have a special anniversary coming up. So it was just that kind of soft outreach where we presented the opportunity that we would offer this concierge level service. And in that, it was amazing to see. We had about a dozen or so clients that said, I would love this. This is what I'm looking for, or I like the idea of it. And so when Andrea and I arrived in Tucson, we literally are looking at billions of dollars, billions of dollars of precious metal, gems, jewelry that have been sourced from around the world, brought into a location with over 1,000 vendors, all bringing these things in. So that you can imagine that's just overwhelming, even for someone that's been in the business as long as me. So it's a lot of money. There's 200 security guards armed just surrounding the place, right? So it's a big deal. With that said, if I didn't have my wife there, it would be overwhelming because there's a lot to keep track of. Remember, I was commissioned by about a dozen of my clients to find something that would be incredibly meaningful, that would help tell the story that they wanted to do. And so I didn't take that lightly. I mean, it was truly a commission. And in that, Andrea brought organization, reflection, grounding, and companionship, which allowed me to focus on the task at hand, which was a fever pitch of 5 days of work, 600 text messages back and forth, emails. I mean, it was insane. And it was good. There's no complaint in that. But that assistance that my wife brought to me, it really tells the story of how we work as a team, whether it be at Impress or perhaps in your organizations, that it takes the puzzle pieces of individuals in your organization to fill in those gaps, to assist you for the areas that you're not as strong. And Andrea did that for me. So in that, we found success. And this is the part I was hesitant about, but I want to do it from a standpoint that it's not about the number. The success that we had in that week actually generated enough revenue that we matched the best month of our year, which is December. So the jewelry industry focuses around Christmas. It's just a natural gift giving, receiving and giving time. And in that, it's our biggest month. 5 days of work with purposeful, intentional outreach to clients that we had a trusting relationship with, that put us on missions to find something that would be wonderful. And it expanded. There was other people we reached out, and so it was actually more than that dozen people that jumped on it at the end. It was absolutely amazing, but it wasn't about the number that I find the most interesting or the most memorable. It's what that number represented. It represented, simply said, trust. In a lot of cases, decades of trust. So this wasn't just some cockamamie marketing idea. It was really a personal outreach, a story of stewardship for these clients that had decided to trust us. This success proves to me that although technology is such a huge part of our lives, it can, as it should, accelerate tasks. At the same time, trust that people give us can help clarify our purpose, and in that purpose we can find true growth. I experienced that, and I know you do in your businesses too. That's why I believe this discussion today, and you listening to my talk for 20 or 25 minutes, and I'm not going over time too much, but each of you carry trust in your organizations, in your families, in your leadership and community roles. I respect all of that. And most importantly, in your families. Because where does our strength as community leaders comes from? Strong families. And so that trust is not something ever to be taken lightly. Your medium might be different. Mine's joy. Mine is occasion-based gift giving and receiving that act as exclamation points perhaps on things. And in this age of artificial intelligence and all the technology that surrounds us and maybe distracts us, I believe the leaders who will have lasting success, that will endure the challenges, are really the ones that embrace their humanity. That is something that technology never can replace, and we should feel secure in our jobs if we can bring that to the table. So the longer that I've led teams of jewelry professionals in this quest to connect with clients in a meaningful, emotional way, the more I realize that trust isn't something we just benefit from. It's something that we're responsible for. And there's a flip side to that. So again, it must be earned. That trust must be protected. And once it's given, we need to rise to the level that it brings out of us, to the standard at which we must live. And in that, if I've had really any success today, and a little, but with that, I have to say, it's because you, collectively, this city of South Bend, the surrounding communities, have put their confidence in me, that they've shown me trust, and I thank you for that. And by extension to my team and my family, I don't take that lightly. And I thank you for that trust that you've shown. And I'll try to live every day to be worthy of that trust. Thank you. Any questions?
Mine is not so much a question, but an experience that I had. My wife and I, we got married, well, we got engaged on New Year's. I was built for our wedding day. Didn't really didn't most people really as much as my wife. But I was trying to throw her off the time when I was supposed to. Well, at the time I was living in the very black. She lived in Detroit, and on the way up there, I thought I was going to be slick with by the way she went away from me. And way back, I called my wife up there, and I was like, I got a problem with clients, closer to the girl. That's right, and, while I'm on film here, I have Bill's identity, so I actually have Bill Humphrey's photo. So, I'm here on the 43 pictures, and, I had him tell her that there was, I put up a video call, he's like, we had a, and in the meantime, I'm getting ready to move to Florida later that weekend. So I was trying to get the proposal out of the way and just like, man, try not to make close to it. I actually should go out on the road here for a minute and all that big stuff. And he played along perfectly. He's actually part of the reason I got the thing that I gave her surprise, even though my surprise was so cheap. Definitely, it takes a lot of serious time.
And she said yes. Bill, I want to give you from the South Rotary Challenge coin, and this is just a coin, there's a 4-way test on it, and so when you look at this, you will remember the time you can share with us. And thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. That was fantastic. I love it when you talk about it, your craft, your artistry.